Thank you everyone for joining us. We're letting people into the room here, so just bear with us for a couple more minutes, okay?
We haven't started, have we?
No, we haven't. Just a couple more minutes and we'll get started, sir.
Awesome, thank you. I pulled over to make it happen.
I appreciate your good safety habits.
Thank you.
All right, well, we'll start letting people in as they come in, but thank you again for all you for coming. Just to let you know, I will be putting everyone on mute here at the beginning, and I'll let the Congresswoman take over now.
Well, thanks, Jessica, and thank you all for being here. And I know a few more people are going to be trickling in, but I really wanted to have this space for all of us. As many of you know, I was in the House chamber 2 Wednesdays ago when the attack happened. And a lot of us members who were there have had these kinds of sharing spaces, and it's been really helpful to me. And as I've gotten so many phone calls from people who are really struggling with not only watching the violence on TV that they saw, but the repercussions of it compounded upon this pandemic that we're living through and the isolation it has caused. I wanted to make sure that we were creating a space for us to have this kind of community coming together where we can work through and heal together, and try and make sense of what we're seeing and what we're living through. So I'm really excited that Dr. Sesen Negash has agreed to participate and facilitate this. Dr. Negash is an associate professor and director in the Marriage and Family Therapy program at San Diego State. She has a PhD in Marriage and Family Therapy from Florida State University and master's degree in Child Development and Family Studies. Before she was here, she was at Alliant International University, also in San Diego. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist, a clinical fellow with the American Association for Marriage and Family Therapy, and an approved supervisor with the California Board of Behavioral Sciences. And her program of research has received national mention in several media publications, including the Daily Beast and the New York Times. So we're really, really fortunate that she's going to facilitate this and help us all collectively as a community process and heal from the times we're living in. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Dr. Negash.
Thank you so much. I am really honored and glad to be in this space with everyone. So thank you for inviting me. I want to take the opportunity just to right off the bat acknowledge that this space feels really important at this particular time and juncture when we're all feeling pretty isolated, I would say, by the pandemic and divided politically as a nation. And it might feel strange to be coming into this space trying to heal ourselves when we're still fighting for our health, for our safety, for the soul of this nation. However, it's really hard to wage on and persevere when we don't take the time to sort of stop, look within, and reflect on our own experiences and feelings, especially when events like the ones that happened last week occur. So I'm really, again, grateful that we can take this moment and pause and just take the time to hear each other, to be in community, and just to feel heard. So thank you for allowing me to be in this space. And this is really your space. I'm really here just to help facilitate and flow the conversation. But it is really the community's opportunity to check in and see how you're doing. And so with that said, I just want to acknowledge this space a little bit more by saying this is really meant to be a brave space, a safe space for you to, where you're encouraged to engage in some difficult dialogue, uncomfortable conversations that include varying opinions. But we want to engage in this conversation with civility and respect, and also be mindful that there are going to be some comments maybe that you hear that make you a little uncomfortable. We're also going to, in moments where our privilege might be showing up, or and just take a moment in each turn just to really stop and take a breath, because these conversations are not easy, and just listen to each other as much as you can, show compassion as much as you can, and then take responsibility for your words, right, and what you share. So to do that, though, I think we need to feel really grounded. And I don't know, I can say for myself that it's harder and harder to sort of stop and breathe and just take a moment just to be present. So if we could just take 1 minute and do that before we start this conversation, I would ask that you do so. So find, for those of you, I know some of you are in cars, some of you maybe other spaces, but if you can find a way to plant your feet firmly on the ground and just try to really relax your body a little bit. You know, be mindful where your hands are, what your muscles are doing. Are they tight? Are they loose? Are you holding tension somewhere? Just try to lower your shoulders and take a few deep breaths, right? Make them slow, deep, meaningful breaths. Okay? Feel free to either lower your gaze or close your eyes while you're doing that. And then I'm going to repeat a few words that I'm hoping will help bring us into compassionate space, about both for ourselves and for others here. So just take a moment and think to yourself and say to yourself, may I be happy, may I be healthy, and may I be at peace. May I be happy, may I be healthy, and may I be at peace. Okay. Just take a few breaths while you're saying these words. You find yourself in and out of being present, that's okay. It's hard to show up sometimes, just in the moment. And once you finish saying those words, I want you to say another set of words, and that is, may you be happy, may you be healthy, and may you be at peace. All the while you're breathing, keeping your feet planted. And one more set, and this one may be a little harder. Imagine someone that you really could care less for right now, a group that you're really struggling to understand, respect, support. And if you could, use those same words. May you be healthy. May you be at peace. Take another 1 or 2 breaths, and then we'll reconvene here. Okay. So before we begin, I just want to highlight a couple of ground rules as well, just to get the conversation going. And we need these often to create that brave and safe space. So here they are. I'll also post them on the chat after I read them. Try as best as you can to use I statements. Avoid any personal attacks. Balance leaning into your discomfort, at the same time recognizing if it's too much and taking care of yourself. Respect others, even if you don't agree with them. Make sure everyone is able to contribute. So some of us might often be more inclined to speak. Try to show restraint if you can, if you feel like there's others who also have some things they may want to say. And for those who be a little quieter, know that your contributions are really important in this space. And please understand that this is a place where we want to feel like we can share, but also know what we share is held in this space. So confidentiality, we ask that you really adhere to it. Okay? What you say in this space or what others say in this space, we ask that you not repeat outside of the space. Okay? You can share in your own experience, but no sort of identifying information. And if you can, please just be mindful of your cell phones and any sort of distractions. And if you could just have them on vibrate or a really low ringtone. And note that there is press on this call. This call is being recorded and it will be posted for recording. So with that said, just be thinking about what things you would feel comfortable seeing and heard in a public space and what you wouldn't. So there might be some things you hold back on saying as a result. And for those of you who feel like this is a hard space, so some of us might, unintentionally get really in this space. So, we'll try to sort of lean in and ask for you to maybe stop, take a breath. But if it gets disruptive, we might have to remove you from the forum. And that's not at all something we do. So I just want to put out there. Again, I'll put these disclaimers, there's ground rules on the chat just to check in with. And so last, I'll just say this. It's the eve of MLK Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I thought it would be fitting to share a quote that I share with folks during difficult times. Returning hate for hate multiplies hate, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of lights and stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Hate multiplies hate. Violence multiplies violence. And toughness multiplies toughness in a descending spiral of destruction. Some of you may feel these words are for others right now, but we also want to be mindful of these words for ourselves. So that's it. That's all I really want to say here. And I just want to turn it over to the group now and pose my question. And if the question sort of leads somewhere else, that's okay. But I'll have a couple of other questions throughout this rest of this period. Okay. So my first question is this: how are you feeling about the horrifying events that happened last week? How are you taking it in? How are you making sense of it?
I'll get the ball started, and hopefully that will help encourage everyone to know that this is a space to share. So for me, I was in the room, but I wasn't watching television. And so a lot of what I know about what was going on outside, I've actually learned after the fact. And so I have the kind of experience of being there, of being afraid, of really thinking that my life might be taken. And then in the time since, learning about all of how close it really did come to us and all of the other things that were happening. And so for me, it's really been a process of reflection from how I felt in the moment to seeing all of these other visuals and really trying to process how that changes my feelings about what I experienced. I think another thing that I'm sort of processing and feeling in this moment is that, many of you know I'm a Jewish woman. And for a lot of my life, I've been white passing. I've lived in communities where Jewishness was not necessarily an other in that way. And yet we saw all of this imagery and symbolism and words that highlighted that as a Jewish woman, I was one of the people they were coming for. That even though I am white passing and I've gotten a lot of privilege from that I am still an other in this very important way. And that has really been sitting heavy with me as well.
Thanks for sharing.
I could speak. I'm Emily Genuine, and I've known Sara since she was in elementary school. Love her so much. And for me, the trauma just began when I realized that this person that I care so much for was in mortal danger. And I cried for the first time since the pandemic started. And what just was so completely traumatized by that possibility that it might, I don't know if you're able to share anything about the experiences that you had while it was going on, but it might make me feel more at ease that I know, okay, either she was or she wasn't really in danger.
Yeah, I'm happy to share more. So I was in the gallery, which is the balcony overlooking the House floor. House members don't usually sit there, but because of the pandemic, we were distanced. There were about 25 of us up there. And I remember I was starting to get alerts on my phone that one of the office buildings was being evacuated. I was getting text messages from my parents, and I remember texting them back, "Don't worry, I'm in the House chamber. This is the safest place I could possibly be." Probably not more than 5 minutes after that, we heard Capitol Police behind us. The speaker got taken away by her security detail to a secure location. They told us to be ready to use the escape hoods. They're like combination gas mask and evacuation hood that were under the seats. I remember thinking to myself, it was my 4th day in Congress. I don't even know how to get, I wouldn't know how to get out of here if I had to run. I don't know where things are yet. It was hard to open the escape hood, so we were all kind of helping each other. I was really lucky because I was sitting between a former police chief and a former Army Ranger who are both members of Congress. So they were kind of talking everyone through it, helped us open the escape hoods. They eventually told us to get down. We heard gunshots. We were right above where the person was shot and killed that day. We heard the mob and the glass doors right behind where we were. And then I had to climb over chairs and under railings to get to the evacuation point on the other side with the gas mask on. At points when we were running, they told us to get down because they weren't sure if there was going to be shots in the room. I went downstairs. We saw some members of the mob subdued on the ground by Capitol Police. And we were running down hallways that we knew Capitol Police was trying to make sure they didn't get through so that we could get to a secure location. But at one point the elevator opened that we were in, and I was sure there was going to be someone on the other side who was there coming to get us. We eventually made it to the secure location, and then we were just waiting there for most of the day, mostly worried that someone would figure out that all of the members were in this one room and that they would come find us. And then once that was all clear, I went back to my office and then back to the House floor. And I felt like it was important for me to go back that same night to take the votes and sit there so that the chamber didn't become only this place that this scary thing had happened in, that I had closure. And then I thought it was obviously also important for our country that we continued and were there. So I wonder that if that might not be as reassuring as you might have hoped. I was in danger. We were quite close to where the people were, but I'm okay. And we are okay. And I'm mourn for the loss of life that occurred, and am very grateful that it wasn't more people.
We're glad you're okay as well.
I just wanted to share some thoughts along the same lines as what Sarah was saying. So I'm a 7th grade social studies teacher, and for 15 years I've been teaching tolerance, but also understanding understanding different viewpoints and just being able to together to be able to find some common ground. But when you see something that happened like what happened on the 6th, it bothers me so much that people had so much hate in them that they could do that to other human beings, that they could they could look so angry, appear so angry, and and take that out on other human beings that way, all based on something that wasn't even true. So I have a tough time. I have a tough time as a teacher, someone again who's been teaching tolerance, trying to make any sense of that and trying to teach anything, any other viewpoint, how we could have prevented that. There's no way to have. So I'm really having a tough time about that. And I know, I don't mean to pat myself on the back. I know I did a good job presenting it to the students the next day, but going forward, I have a real tough time trying to figure out a way of saying, okay, this won't happen again. This is how we can move forward from this. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, and that's the thing that's really bothering me.
Thank you for sharing that. I hear you, and I think a lot of other folks are feeling the same way who are around young people, trying to help them feel safe and make sense of what doesn't make sense, what's really unprecedented. And, you know, just like kids are feeling really concerned and scared, I think we are, as adults, we're also like uncertain about the future. And it's hard to make people feel safe when we don't. So I commend you in the role that you have. It's a big one to try to really create a sense of safety in that setting. And at the same time, wonder yourself, like, what is this? You know, you can't make sense of something like this that doesn't seem to make sense. No matter how many degrees you have, no matter how, you know, what kind of wordsmith you are, it's hard. So thank you. Thank you for I mean, the work that you do as teachers is invaluable, but right now, especially trying to help young people understand this, it's a tough one. Thanks for sharing, Seth.
Well, at least after, you know, and thank you for that. I appreciate that. And, you know, I was thinking, you know, at least after 9/11, I wasn't a teacher yet at that point, but, you know, at least after 9/11, you could say, oh, you know, we could beef up security, we could do this, we could do that. That was a whole other thing. This, I really don't know how to move on and how to tell the students that nothing like this can ever happen again. We could deal with this. It was a one-time thing. It was, I don't know how to move forward from it.
Hi, can I jump in? Okay, so I'm a teacher as well. And Sarah, I am so glad that you're okay because you're my Congresswoman and I want to make sure that you're okay. But what I am having a hard time with as an African-American woman is that the world is just now shocked. But this is our daily lives as people of color, of, you know, the African descent. And, you know, I think what makes me so upset is that now people who have whiter skin kind of understand what we go through our entire lives. And so now you know, so it's like now it's something that we need to address. So for me, that's the hard part. And I'm sure other people, minorities on the call probably feel the same way. So I just wanted to put that out there because I think it's something that we need to talk about as a community. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing that. It feels like that's, for many people, what they saw on Wednesday was more than just the Capitol being attacked, the rioting, the insurrection. It was, look at the difference. If it was the Black community, you know, what would this situation look like? I think, at least for me and a lot of the folks that people of color, one of our first thoughts was that, like, it is terrifying to think that our republic's being threatened, but also for hundreds of years, we've had our rights suppressed. For hundreds of years, we've had things, you know, many rights, you know, taken away, and we never did anything like this. And so to see folks do it over something that isn't real, like some of you have said, it's really disheartening. It's really disheartening to think about just how privileged people are, just how much they think they could do things different because just of the color of their skin that others can't. So yeah, it was disappointing and sad for many reasons, at least for me this last Wednesday. And I hear what you're saying. I support that completely. And thank you for what you do as well as a teacher.
If I may go, Sarah, my friend, I'm so happy you're okay. Um, and I was so worried of you and your staff, as some of them are also my friends as you are. And I sat here and I looked and I said, there's no way. I said, we are living in the worst dream in the history of dreams. There's just no way that people just up and just decided to just go storm the US Capitol. And I was like, and in my head, I'm like, that's like one of the most safest places on the planet. Like, there's too many, there's too many important people inside for it to just be that simple, to just go storm the US Capitol, for someone to believe that they could actually do it. And I'm also sitting here as a Black woman, a young Black woman, going, there's no way if a group of people of color decided to do that, they would have made it to the Capitol steps. There is no way in any shape or form that this would have happened. And I look at it going, what made it so simple, and or not simple, but what gave these sort of people the wherewithal to be like, yeah, we could do it today. Let's go ahead. Let's just go and storm the US Capitol. Like, it shocked me. It worried me. I have family who live 10 minutes away, and I was calling them and couldn't get service. It was like beeping, like that busy signal. And so I just was not, so I was worried for them as well, because they said, and then they called me later and said that they could hear everything, like they could hear the people in the streets. And I was like, that worried me to like all of my being, because I didn't know what to do. There was nothing I could do. I couldn't go get them. I couldn't send for them. And and I sat here thinking, how is this okay? How is this how do you justify this? How do you just allow the certain things to happen, and the just disaster of a day that was, on a day that was, supposed to be, it wasn't going to be a simple day. We knew in the vote this wasn't going to be simple, but I don't know if any of us woke up that day going, we're going to watch people storm the US Capitol. That was not on my agenda for the day. I don't think that was on anybody's agenda for the day. And I just watched, and I'm like, and someone mentioned 9/11, you can beef up security, you can do this. Oh, it's other people that hurt us. And we do so many things, I think, when other people hurt us, but when we hurt each other, we kind of stop and freeze and be like, wait. And I think that's the hardest part. It's not people who it's not people who grew up it's not people who are on our list of people that are going to hurt us. This was people who, we probably see in our daily lives, we just never recognize. And I live in East County, San Diego. We all know, and for those, I live, about 15 minutes away from Defend East County headquarters, as they would call it, from where they normally mobilize. They were there. These are the people that I see when I go out, but you never think, because it's like, oh, they're just Americans like me. And I'm like, they couldn't hurt me. And in this, it hurt me greater than probably any other thing really could when it came to our institutions. So I think that's where I was with that. And I struggle with trying to explain it. My sisters called me. They are 10. They are almost 10, 8, and 5. I had nothing to say. I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know, Lydia, Alicia, Nadia, how to say this to you. I don't know how to say you're safe in a world where they just watch this on TV. I don't know how to say that. And to the teachers who have to explain this to your students, you are the bravest people that I know, because you guys have to explain this to kids who are coming, and you have to have an answer. They're looking for you to have an answer. So thank you for having some sort of answer to tell them, because I wouldn't know what to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi.
Can I say something? So along with what everybody else has said, one of the scariest things to me is that like 9/11 has been brought up, and like Naomi just said, you know, we can point that was an other, that was outside of our country, and there are things we can do about it. We can unite as a country against them. But the people that stormed the Capitol, they're Americans, and they believe that what they were doing was patriotic and it was the right thing and it was the American thing to do, and that they weren't traitors, that you know, the other side were the traitors. And I don't know how you can unite a country when half the country believes one thing so fervently and the other half believes the opposite so fervently. And now that there's violence and people feeling bold enough to storm the Capitol, like Seth said, I don't know, how do you go forward? I don't see how we can just say, yes, now is the time for the country to heal. Now it's time for us to unite. But when we believe such opposite things, how does that happen? I don't know. And that's scary to me.
Thanks, Shelley. It is very scary.
I guess I have something that I'd like to share. Hi, my name's Naveed. I've just been feeling really depressed since this happened. Sarah, I'm really glad that you're safe. That experience, as you describe it, sounds absolutely terrifying. One thing that I just keep thinking about is how it was shocking. And at the same time, there have been so many warning signs, I think, over the past really decades. You know, since this happened, I've thought a lot about the Oklahoma City bombing. And I've thought about The Handmaid's Tale and how the whole start of that dystopian novel is an attack on the Capitol. I feel like a lot of this has been sort of lurking in the shadows, and to actually finally see it happen, it makes it even more terrifying. And so just thinking about all that, how that sort of, it's always been there, just we haven't seen it until now, has weighed on me. I really appreciate everything everyone has said, and definitely those of you who are talking to young people about this. I don't have any young people in my life, and I can't even imagine what I would tell them. So thank you so much for those of you who are taking that on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can I speak? Can you hear me? Or
Yes.
no? You can, okay, great. What strikes me also about the insurrection and all the hatred that we saw was, as many people have kind of mentioned today, are the lies. And when I see that kind of fury in people's eyes, I feel like it's not just the recent lies, but these are people probably who have felt lied to, betrayed for a very long time. Some who are military may feel like the military lied to them. In terms of even US history and how that's taught, I'm of an age where I remember finally people were having Black studies and African American studies. And it strikes me that that should be incorporated from day one. And a lot of these people probably have one view of what the US is and what the US did and what a patriot is and where they fit into that whole scheme of things. And now part of probably their experience is realizing that that's been a lie, that they've been lied to on that. So I believe there's very many levels to this for people really on the inner level to stop lying, you know, to themselves, to each other, for us to become a more honest society. Not to do false equivalencies, but Democrats lie too. You know, it's really, I felt very hurt when I've heard Democrats lying about other Democrats. And that has struck me and made me feel like, what's going on here? I don't think things will really heal until we get people to start telling the truth, and also to start teaching a history that reflects reality. I'll just sum up with another kind of reflection on that. I had a great US history teacher, even before people were talking about Black studies and African American studies. And she told us way back then that the kids in the South got different textbooks that we got, and that they were taught that the Civil War was all about economics and not really about slavery. And so when you think of people who have grown up with that kind of a distortion of reality, you can, I guess, begin to understand where we need to begin in getting away from the lies. And not just this, you know, the lies about the election being stolen, but all the lies. Thanks.
Thanks for sharing.
Um,
Darwin, oops. Charles? Yeah, Darwin, I'm sorry, you had raised your hand before. I don't want to skip over you. And then Charles, do you mind just holding off a second? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Congresswoman Jacobs. I appreciate this event, you being here and willingness to talk about it, especially this soon after it took place. And certainly as someone that lived in DC and been in the Capitol many times, I appreciate what it must have been like to a certain extent. And certainly the security, I get how difficult, especially starting there now, Congress member, that security issue, because it's true. One of the things I was always told about the Capitol being one of the most secure buildings in the world, next to the White House. So, and to see that breach, yeah, it was extraordinary. And thinking about the demos I've been in where the perimeter, and they say if you go past the perimeter, they can use lethal force, you'll be shot. So it's extraordinary. And I get that it's gonna take a lot of time to sort through this. I saw the interview with AOC, Rachel Maddow, and I get that she wasn't even comfortable being in the safe space with the other Congress members, and that she was worried that some of the members report that she was there to the protesters, and that's going to take time to sort that through and to work that out, especially obviously given the disclosure about the tours that were given beforehand that were most likely led by Republican members, certain Republican members. So I appreciate how difficult that's going to be and how much time that's going to take to sort through. But I'm glad that you shared with us about your connection, and I was feeling the same thing. Certainly being raised by a Jewish father and those stories, and my grandparents from Poland, an appreciation of neo-Nazis and being a part of that group that they are hunting. So I definitely get it also on that level. And I hope that in coming through with this, that especially working with your other Congress members, that it makes you guys your bond and your unity together is there. And there's certainly a lot of work. I'm very excited to hear about Biden's plans for the first 100 days. And I'm looking forward to seeing how you're going to contribute and to be able to support that work. So thank you. And definitely my heart goes out to you.
Thanks, Darwin. Charles?
Yes, thank you, Congressperson Jacobs, for doing this. And thank you, Sesen Negash, for kind of shepherding us on this almost like confessional path today. You know, I was thinking that this event, this insurrection at the Capitol was so different from other things that I've experienced over my life. You know, the Vietnam protests of the 60s, the AIDS protests and civil disobedience of the 80s and 90s, the 9/11. This one seemed to be more embellished by hatred versus anger. The others seem to be more angry protests. The Black Lives Matter protests were not, in my opinion, as a white person, not hatred, but more anger about the injustice and inequality. This one seemed more based on hatred of Democrats, of the process, of the election. Very, very different. And the fact that over the last 4 years, during the current soon to be departed president's administration, the presence of Nazi symbols, Confederate symbols, anti-LGBT symbols in his rallies and events seemed to have mushroomed further in this attack on the Capitol. I have a hard time, initially you said to kind of respect and acknowledge differences. I have a hard time respecting, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to, knowing that there's a significant amount of people in our country, even here in San Diego, I don't know how significant, that trusted the lies, what I am saying are lies, and others have said are lies, and believed in them so much with such a passion that they had so much hatred. It's hard to reconcile that. I can understand the anger. I agree with a previous commentator about the false equivalency. What happened in DC was so different, in my opinion, than the BLM protests. One was based in, the BLM, in my opinion, were based on fights for equal justice under the law. And the protest in the insurrection in DC was based on hatred of the law, hatred of the election. And so that's where I'm at right now. As an older man, this was really shocking, and I have some optimism based on the Biden-Harris administration as they go forward. But I have a feeling and a sense that Congressperson Jacobs is going to have many challenges trying to deal with a divided Senate and a divided House. And I'm hoping that there is a light at the end of the tunnel on this whole situation. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Charles. Are there others who'd like to check in about how they're feeling?
Hey,
Hi, Jimmy.
yeah, I echo really what everybody's saying, you know. Thank you, Congresswoman, for leading with courage. And I echo what Emily said about the emotion of it. She knows you and was in tears. I don't know you and I was brought to tears. And I think the profound inhumanity of the moment, I can't imagine anyone not being moved in some way by it. And I look forward, so as much as I couldn't have ever imagined something like that happening, it is that easy for me to see that happening again based on that single event. I can easily see something like that happening again. There were, I don't know, reports, rumors, whatever, that today might have been a day. As we all know in the news, capitals around the country, and DC included, were to be especially alert today. I haven't been tuned into the news, being on the road, and I don't know that anything has happened. I certainly hope not. But I think it's the future now that bothers me. The future is unknown. And it's almost a situation where those who hate hold the cards. Those who espouse hatred and espouse what was what that tragic day demonstrated, they hold the cards to making something like this happen again. And all peace-loving, community-loving people like us can do is be prepared. And that's a scary thought. That's a scary thought that in our country, something like that has that sort of grip, that sort of power, power over our freedom of thought, not power as in conquering in some sort of way. But again, I want to say first to also to Dr. Negash, if I said your name right, thank you so much for your introductory remarks and the sort of tranquil introduction. I thought that was awesome. And Congresswoman Jacobs, I support everything you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Chris Mitchell, you had a comment.
Yes, I do. As Chris Mitchell, proud native of San Diego Bay Area. Miss Sara Jacobs, I want to thank you for all the comments. I wish you all the best in the future. We've been so sad what happened on January 6th due to an arrest in Washington, D.C. I wish every one of you all the best and solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Would anyone else like to share? Well, we have about 10 more minutes before we have to wind down, so I'm going to go ahead and ask my next question, if that's okay with folks. Okay. Some of you have already spoke to this, but I'm curious, how have the events from last week, and I'm assuming it's all cumulative, but how are you feeling in terms of your sense of safety, your well-being? Like how is your body responding to all this? How is your mind holding all this? It can't be easy.
I'll say real quick, I have really developed a greater sense of compassion and empathy for my brothers and sisters of color. I'm really, it just, the entire event has really solidified for me how difficult their normal day is in comparison to mine. And I'm moved to try and do something better by that. And I'm not sure what that is, but I will work on it.
Can I speak?
Yes, and then Ashley, Luna, after you, Deborah, go ahead.
Okay. Following up on those same thoughts that Jimmy expressed, for me, whenever I'd fill out those little democratic things that they'd email you on your priorities, healthcare was always mine, because I felt, we're born in a hospital, we die in a hospital usually, and we see doctors a whole lot throughout our lives. After this, racism is my top issue. And, again, it's just, if we don't tackle that, it'll destroy our country, and it'll destroy people, individuals, internally as well. So I just wanted to add to what Jimmy said with that.
Thank you. Ashley?
Hi. So first I wanted to say to Congresswoman Jacobs is thank you for voting for your impeachment towards Mr. Trump. You did the right thing and the best thing for our country, and don't listen to any of the naysayers on that. My question is obviously because of all these things, I'm highly tuned and concerned about the potential outcome of the impeachment proceedings. I paid attention to the House of Reps. There was a few very important details that could point out, and there's certain details that were in the article of impeachment that I think would be very important to point out. So my question is, what is the best way to share those thoughts with you or with the relevant congressperson or senator, other than sending tweets? Because I've been sending some tweets.
Well, we will put the best way to contact our office into the chat, and you can call us or reach us on our website, and we would love to hear your thoughts. And I do also check my Twitter, so you can tweet at us too.
Thank you, Sarah. I just want to tell you, I opened my Twitter account just to tell you that. And the tweet, I actually sent a couple tweets to you, and you're the first person I ever sent a Twitter message to. So my name is Ashley Luna. I hope you can find it, and I would love to get a response. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Mona, and then Naomi Miller after that, and then we might have to wrap up.
Okay, so it's Molina, just
I
there.
apologize. Say that again.
Moina.
Beautiful name. Thank you.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say, you asked about physical safety. I am also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, which is the same sorority Vice President-elect is a part of. And I just wanted to share with the group, our colors are pink and green, but our sorority has sent out messages of safety. Be careful of wearing your paraphernalia, because we've had sorority sisters who have been attacked just because they have worn our sorority paraphernalia out, and it's just awful. So for me, I love to go out, but of course I don't in the pandemic, but I'm kind of afraid for my own physical safety, and that makes me very, very angry. So I'm just in the house trying to remain safe, and that's where I'm at. So I just want to share that.
Thank you, and we hope you stay safe as well. It is scary out there right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Wasn't sure if I was supposed to go. But as for safety, outside of the four walls of my house, I don't. And it's been like that longer than just what happened on Wednesday. Just dealing with being a young Black woman in America, safety sometimes isn't an option. It feels like 95% of the time. This made me feel even less safe than I already did. Because I could go out there and by no reason of anything else, because I'm Black, I'm a threat, I'm a target, I'm in somebody's crosshairs just because. And so that doesn't make me feel safe at all. So as for physical safety, it's not a full luxury that I give myself outside of the four walls of my house, because it doesn't seem possible in a world where things that continually prove that I'm unsafe continue to happen. So I think that's where I'm at.
Thank you for sharing that. I think we have time for one more comment. Would anybody like to share?
If I may, I'd like to ask or add really quick, and someone else can comment. Again, I really have enjoyed this, and I'm hoping that this is something that Congresswoman Jacobs might consider doing on some sort of regular basis, whatever that might be.
Thanks for offering that feedback, Jimmy. Deborah, you had your hand raised at the end there.
I just wanted to say, Naomi, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you and others go through that all the time. So our hearts are with you. My heart is with you.
So I'll say this to sort of move us towards wrapping up. From hearing everyone speak, and from those who didn't have an opportunity to speak, but my sense is that we're all here wanting to do something, advocates, but our nation's heightened political divisiveness is unlikely to subside soon, and we have to be able to take care of ourselves in order to do the work that we will need to do long term. Prioritizing our emotional, physical well-being is not something that comes easy for a lot of us. I'll speak for myself personally. It's easier to take care of others than to take care of yourself sometimes. But this is a really, really painful time for a lot of people, and we are suffering physically. We're suffering emotionally, and we may not feel it day to day, but it adds up. And so I just encourage you all to be doing things like you're doing right now, which is finding community, talking, getting it out. It is not helpful to us just to bottle all of it in. And a lot of it needs to come out. If it is anger, a lot of it is frustration and disappointment. We need to share that with people. Just if for nothing else, for them to say, I hear you and understand that this is hard. It goes a long way. So I'm going to post a couple resources here on the chat and a link. There are a lot of different ways to get support, a lot of different ways to cope. I'm just going to provide a couple of ideas, definitely not exhaustive list, but also just post some names for some clinicians in the community if you are at all interested in talking to someone on a more regular basis. As a therapist, I know I promote therapy, but it may not be something you consider now, but just hold on to the resource for if in the future you want to maybe pursue it. So I'm going to post that here. Congresswoman Jacobs, is there anything you wanted to say to conclude today's discussion?
Yes, well, thank you for your beautiful facilitation. And thank you everyone for showing up, because that is often the hardest part. And some of us spoke and shared, and some of us bore witness. And it was an honor to share this space with you. I hope you do take advantage of the resources that Dr. Negash is posting. As I like to remind people, you can't pour out of an empty glass. So you have to make sure that you're full up before you can do the work that we need to do. And this is a difficult time, and it's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel scared. It's okay to feel hopeless and to feel like you can't control what's going on around you. Those are all okay things to feel. And make sure that you reach out and you talk to someone and you get the support that you need to make it through this. And I just want to close by saying that I heard a lot of fear from people, that there's no way out of this. And I just want you all to know that I have spent my career working in societies and communities that are torn apart at the seams, that have come to violence. And there is a way out, and it will be hard, and we will have to have hard conversations, and we will have to do a lot of hard work, but we will be able to get out of this. We will get to the other side, and we will be able to build the future that we all want together. I'm honored to be doing that with all of you, and thank you so much again for being here.
So that link I post is on the chat. If some of you want to cut and paste it somewhere else. Take care.
Thank you, Congresswoman Sara, and thank you all.
Thank you for giving us all hope. We really appreciate that.